Yeah, be open to it. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid. It's a plant, and it's a beautiful plant. It's so generous and so loving, and the best relationship that you can have.
Welcome to the Well with Cannabis podcast, a show dedicated to telling the life-changing stories of those who live well with cannabis, all while teaching you how to do the same. Meet your host, Emily Kyle, a registered dietitian nutritionist turned certified holistic cannabis practitioner. Emily changed her life for the better with the help of the cannabis plant, and now she is committed to helping others do the same. Tune in each week to hear heartwarming stories and gain the knowledge you need to feel connected, inspired, and supported on your own cannabis journey. Whether you're a new cannabis consumer or a lifetime lover, you'll benefit from these uplifting tales of real-life journeys that will show you how you too can live your best life well with cannabis.
Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to share a note on potentially sensitive content. The episodes on the Well with Cannabis podcast are created for adult audiences only. We will at times cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, sex, drugs, alcohol, psychedelics, and the obvious use of plant medicine. Explicit language may be used occasionally. Please refrain from watching or listening to the show if you're likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. The information on this show is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice. If any of the content on this podcast has brought up anything for you, please reach out or speak to a professional or someone you trust. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast. And I'm so excited to be here with Miss Kim Sarsons, who has quite the cannabis journey in the past couple years. And I'm so excited to welcome you, Kim. Hi, how are you today?
Hi, good morning. I'm excellent. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm super excited to tell your story. You said cannabis came into your life in 2018, and I'd love to talk about what happened and how cannabis got to you.
Okay, I'll try to, in a nutshell for you. Sorry, essentially, cannabis legalization was coming to Canada, where I reside, in 2018. And I was very curious to know as much as I could about it, just to understand the landscape that would be among us. And as I started my journey of exploration and learning, I came to a really powerful realization. And that is that cannabis could have supported me and perhaps even prevented the illness that I endured 2 years prior. So in that situation, I'm a school teacher by profession. And I've been a school teacher for close to 30 years, if you can believe that. I'm just going back into part-time teaching after stepping away from full-time. So I'm really excited about that, but also a little nervous. Anyhow, I'm also a single mom. So as you can imagine, like the balancing act of doing it all by yourself was really tremendous for me. And I ended up with kind of a mystery illness in 2016. It was just at the end of the school year. And I ended up in hospital needing emergency surgery. And I woke up from that surgery with a complete hysterectomy, a bowel resection, an ileostomy bag, and months of adjustment, healing, recovery. After that really was a struggle. So all of that was
intense. That is like, that's crazy. You just went in not even knowing all of that was going to happen.
I went in to address a severe pain that I was dealing with. And that pain seemed to have come out of nowhere. I'm sure my body had been speaking to me for quite some time before, but I was just not very good at listening. A little bit preoccupied with the balancing act, as I said before. Yeah. So I finished up the school year, and a colleague of mine said, Kim, you need to take yourself to the emergency room. This is not normal. Because every day my doctor had prescribed me oxycodone for pain. So I was going to work.
Hand it out like candy. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, not to discount your pain by any means, but it's just easy to get, it seems like.
Yeah. So I was going to work medicated in that way. And still the pain was so intense. So going in for surgery, After seeing a gynecological specialist, he had said, we're going to book you in for surgery to the hospital tomorrow. You're going to have surgery the next day, because they didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
It was only after the surgery that they were able to explain that I had had a massive pelvic infection. And as I said, where it started, how it started, mystery. I really don't know.
That's terrible.
But in the interim, between my first surgery and my second surgery, while I was living with this ileostomy bag, which took the place of my digestive system.
Poor thing. I know that is for anybody who's not aware. I worked in a hospital on a GI floor, so I've seen them and worked with them. And you poor thing, it's so I don't even know how you mentally process all of that.
Well, yeah, thinking back on it, it was, I think, the medication in hospital that got me through, but I didn't have cannabis at that time. And the ileostomy caused me to lose a lot of weight. So I'm 6 feet tall, and I dropped to 107 pounds because my body just couldn't digest food properly. My doctor's advice was to drink more protein shake.
Oh my gosh.
Which is laughable.
Truly.
It just goes to show you that they're really lacking in the realms of more holistic wellness, nutrition. I know you're an expert in that area. So I didn't listen to his advice, and I was enduring not only the weight loss, but associated weakness because I couldn't function properly. I didn't have the strength to even hold myself up. Weight loss caused a lot of pain. Even to sleep, to lie down was painful because I was so thin. The anxiety of is this going to be my life?
Yeah. Oh, I can't even
imagine.
Didn't know. Oh,
I didn't know if
trauma.
I didn't know if the bowel resection was going to work, if I'd have the ileostomy long term. I really didn't know. So I spent a lot of time at home while my daughter was off at school. She was 10 years old at the time. This was very hard on her as well, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had the time at home alone, and I was actually spending a lot of time reading cookbooks because I was excited I wanted to eat, and I wanted to enjoy food, and I wanted to benefit from food, but I just couldn't. So I ended up seeing a naturopath. Remember, cannabis was not legal at the time. This is 2 years prior. Medical cannabis was, but it never had crossed my mind. No one had suggested it.
Yeah.
As a school teacher, it just was something that it's not legal, stay away. What are people going to think if I'm using this as a medicine? What are they going to worrying about what other people think? Silly. So I saw a naturopath and ended up receiving intravenous vitamin therapy for a period of a few months. So that allowed me to feel normal again.
Yeah.
Until I got the phone call from the surgeon saying, you've had enough time to heal. We're going to reconnect your digestive system, and that will change everything for you. And it did, because it allowed me to absorb nutrition again through food. But it took a long time. I had to rebuild my body essentially from an almost anorexic state.
Yeah.
So regaining strength, endurance, flexibility, all of that. I had to work on rebuild, and still cannabis was not, it just wasn't
there. Yeah.
It wasn't there. So as I started to learn about it 2 years later, all these light bulbs were going off in my mind. It could have supported me with my sleep. It could have supported me with my pain. It could have supported me with my anxiety. All of it. The weight gain would have been a difficult thing just because of the ileostomy.
Right.
But still, I would have gone through that period of struggle and frustration and worry and all of that, feeling more like a human being, because I had felt as though I had doubled in age, like that. I was 46 at the time. So I felt like I was 100 years old.
Oh,
and I looked it too. I just very gaunt, very weak, very.
You're starving. You were starving to death.
Essentially.
Yeah. I mean, what would have happened if you hadn't crossed paths with that naturopath? I mean, it's crazy.
I was looking for solutions. I was on the internet trying to understand how can I slow my digestion, following groups of people who live with ileostomies and colostomies and all of that. But no matter what I did, like I would eat and that bag would be full within half an hour. And I'd step on a scale. I've never been one to step on a scale. And I would just watch my weight drop and drop and drop until it bottomed out. So quite a journey. I'm grateful it's in the past. Everything is so different now.
Good. Okay.
And
I mean, that just sounds so traumatic. And then you didn't even have cannabis to help you cope. Where does cannabis come into the picture then?
So as I said at the beginning, with legalization approaching, I was just curious. And I had come across an article, a magazine article about high tea parties. So I was intrigued. I bought the magazine. I took it home, started reading, and I was like, I want to do this. This sounds amazing. It was women in their midlife years coming together for social educational events where they could consume. They were happening in California, of course, legal there and socially acceptable there. Very different landscape from here, but it really got me excited about how to bring this education to more women, because I don't want people to suffer. Like I had extreme suffering, and I know not everybody's going to go through what I went through, this pretty unique circumstance that I had. But so many women aren't sleeping. They're turning to alcohol. They're relying on prescriptions. There's so many struggles out there that cannabis could support. And I thought, if I want to lead these sorts of opportunities, these events, then I need to really up my knowledge game. And so the deep dive into learning began, and I ended up finding the Cannabis Coaching Institute. Not sure if you've heard of that. Oh, you have heard? You're familiar? Yeah. And this was like the perfect thing, because we were about 6 months out from legalization. And I thought that gives me enough time. So that by the time it is available for people to purchase in dispensaries, I can have the knowledge and the insight.
Look at you, so smart.
So that I can help myself, like coaching myself first, and then being able to support others, because being an educator, that's just naturally what I want to do. And I understood the power as I learned more about the plant. I understood the power of it and thought, this can't remain like closeted. And under this stigmatizing microscope, and so many people live within that old paradigm of fear, and it's a gateway and all of that. And I just wanted to be part of be a pioneer as part of the change to come. So
I feel like once you for yourself experience how amazing cannabis is, you feel compelled, you have to tell other people. Like you cannot keep it a secret to yourself. It would be wrong to do that. Do you feel the same way?
I do. However, as a school teacher, which I mentioned, I felt torn, because I thought, what if not the wrong people, but the people with the out of date attitudes find out that I am supporting myself and my well-being using cannabis? What are they going to think? I'm in charge of their kids. I'm teaching their kids. What are they going to think?
It's got
and I allowed that to really subdue my enthusiasm, because I was nervous. And I had friends and close friends and colleagues say, Kim, you have to be really, really careful. The school board could do this, could do that. You could lose your job. And that's the last thing I need, is to lose my job.
No, right. It's just one more worry on top of the rest. Like, thanks, people.
Even though it was legal, right? By this time, cannabis was legal, but still so new on the landscape that
people didn't even know there was no precedent to decide if, a situation comes up. They've never handled it before. They don't know how to move forward. And for old school thinkers, it's a scary subject that they don't want to touch. So let's talk about, so what about the first time you ever used cannabis? Do you want to talk about that a little bit? And what was that experience like for you?
Oh gosh. So I had experienced it prior to all of this back in my high school days and in my 20s, I would say. I was always open to it when it would show up. I felt like, well, number one, it's natural.
Yeah.
I never wanted to go down the route of unnatural intoxicants. I'll call it that for now.
Yeah.
But I thought if I'm going to try anything, I'll try cannabis. So whenever it would show up, I would have a little puff, and generally it was good. Sometimes live and learn. I would have been consuming alcohol first, and then the joint came around, and I learned the hard way.
That flavor to anybody out there, they don't mix very well.
Not really. And edibles as well. I had
the whole different animal.
Intense experience with edibles once. Yes. So when you go into it really not knowing how it's going to affect you, how quickly, how you're going to feel, how to come down if you're too high, like all of that. When you don't have that information, it's kind of like the roulette wheel, kind of the lottery, how what you're going to end up with.
Absolutely.
But now I know much better. Now I know much better.
So moving forward, are you open about cannabis? Has anybody found out? How has this worked for you navigating your teacher life and your new cannabis life?
Well, what I decided to do to share, but in what I saw as a safer way, was to put my knowledge into a book. Yeah. And so I spent about 6 months gathering everything, writing, and then I self-published a book, which I'm very proud of.
Congratulations. That is a huge feat.
Yes. Thank you. And it became the first of 3. So I now have a 3-part series on cannabis and women's wellness, because it's such a necessary focus, that we spend time on our self-care. But how do I navigate it? Well, so putting that out there was a big deal.
Yeah.
And
how
there
did
was
people
a time
react? Were they surprised?
Well, my inner circle knew what I was up to, and certain individuals in my world knew. I don't know that all of my colleagues or my principal at the time knew what I was up to.
Yeah.
But I always felt like I will share with people who I really feel safe with, because I really don't want the negative energy of judgment coming my way. No. I really don't want it. So I was really particular about who I would share with. And it came to a point where I was even bringing some of my infusions, like I would make infused honey or cookies or whatever I would make. If anyone was saying to me, I'm really feeling stressed, or I'm so exhausted, I can't sleep, or whatever, even if it was a colleague that I felt close enough to, I would say, can I support you with something? And that would open up the conversation, and then I would bring them.
Oh my gosh. I find that so many people who find healing with cannabis turn out to be healers. And that's exactly what you're doing now. You're sharing that with others. Has everybody been receptive that you've shared with?
Yeah. And then I have followed up and said, like, I've always given them the insights on how to engage with it, but following up and asking, how was it? And it's been good. I've always been clear to say, when it comes to edibles, like, just start with the tiniest amount and give it time, and have it at night. Give yourself about an hour before you go to bed. And then the idea is that it will help you sleep.
Gosh, I mean, sleep is priceless for so many people. And so many people, once they get that good night's sleep, it just reignites like their healthy lifestyle, because you feel so much better that you can be more active and you can eat better and you're more likely to take care of yourself. And it like comes into this like full holistic model, kind of like you said. Yeah.
So it's been exciting, and I've been sharing in other ways too. I get invited to speak at events and to do.
How has the speaking events gone for you? Have you been nervous? Or are you just so excited to get out there and talk to people?
Generally, it's a mix.
Yeah.
But having a little bit of cannabis beforehand is always really helpful to ease the nerves.
Thank you. I am a big proponent of using cannabis before like public speaking events. And my gosh, it helps so much.
Just takes the edge off, puts everything at ease. And Yeah, so much better. But being a school teacher, I'm used to being in front of an audience, not an
Yes.
audience of my peers per se, other adults, but so it's a little different. The subject matter, of course, is different, but being able to address an audience in an engaging way is something that I've had a lot of practice with over the years. So
It's such a beautiful blend because we are so in desperate need of cannabis educators. And a lot of people like me, I'm not an educator, I'm just a cannabis consumer trying to share my own knowledge. But to have someone with actual education experience and background to come in and provide that type of education for people is so amazing. Like, I'm so excited that you were brave enough to, say, I'm gonna, push past this fear of what people are going to say and I'm gonna do it. And like going out and speaking events, that's out there. I'm super proud of you for that.
thank you. I hope for more because the response is always very positive,
Yeah.
and people are really lacking in their understanding, and they don't understand that they have a system in their bodies, this
Yes.
endocannabinoid
Yeah.
system. They
They
just
don't know. It's just never talked about. No one's ever even said
no,
the word before. And people are like, what did you just say?
yeah, yeah.
So what does life
I love
look
it.
like now? You're feeling amazing, you said, but you're not working full time. Talk a little bit about your business side, where things are going that way.
So I'm really motivated to coach. I really want to be gathering groups of women together and doing
Mm.
group coaching events and programs and that sort of thing. So putting those things together, as well as bringing women together who have stories of transformation with cannabis that want to share their stories. Because I have this experience now with publishing, and I've got so much experience in teaching students how to write and with editing and formatting their written work. I just thought, there's so much power in story,
Yeah.
and bringing women together who have diverse backgrounds, who have, who've had really, whatever their experience is of
Yeah.
transformation with cannabis. I think the more of those that are shared with the world through conversations like podcasts or through publications, the more we will have an impact on change. And so those are two big projects that I have in the works at the moment. So I'm looking for women who are interested in connecting with me to
Yes.
talk about sharing their stories and taking on this endeavor of writing them, but also, bringing those together who are new to the plant and
Yeah.
are nervous, have a sense of trepidation. And I really want to help them go from, canna curious
Yeah.
to canna confident and really able to listen to their bodies, which I was not very good at, and respond appropriately so that they can show up more fully as mothers, as partners, as CEOs, as whoever they show up as in the world. I think the more support that women have, and the more they understand cannabis plant medicine, like
Yeah.
we're going to just see so much change in the world because of that. So
Absolutely. I'm going to leave your information in the page here. So anybody who's listening to you and is like, I have to talk to Kim, that way they can get in contact with you, because I truly believe the same thing. It's the storytelling that's going to not only change the minds of the naysayers, but bring comfort to those who currently consume or who feel alone. Because when I first started using cannabis, I felt so alone. There was no conversations like this. There was no other women to talk to like this. And these conversations, I hope someone's just going to listen and be like, oh my gosh, I can relate with Kim. I hear her story. I want to try cannabis. Maybe she can help me through this journey, and just spark like this whole kind of change for people. So I'm really glad that you are here, that you're doing this. And, despite what you went through, you've made the best of it, and you're trying to help other people through the same thing. So I'm just really excited we've gotten to talk about this and share this today.
yeah, I think it's time.
It's
It
time.
really is.
It's beyond time.
It's been 5 years. It's coming up 5 years since legalization in Canada, and coming up 7 years since I was so ill. Yeah, I'd say that's enough time to really push this. So
It is. And as we move towards the future, hopefully it just gets easier and easier. But again, it's because of the work that you're going to be doing, that we're doing here, that really just, we take one person by the hand at a time and say, let us help you and let us show you the way. And, cannabis can be safe and it can be gentle. And there's a lot of really special ways to incorporate it into your life. Now, I wanted to ask you, I want to be respectful of your time. I ask all my guests the same 4 questions, but I have one extra one for you. What is your advice for professionals, whether they're teachers or healthcare professionals who want to use cannabis but are so terrified to do so? Do you have any advice for them?
I would say first and foremost, connect with someone who has more knowledge than you do.
Yeah.
Find someone not someone who just consumes, but someone who is a conscious consumer. Because if you connect with someone who's consuming as a recreational user, they're not necessarily going to have the right information for you, because cannabis is something that we can manage and we can dose it out. Like the microdosing model is really important to understand. So definitely connecting with a resource that knows that
it's
aspect.
Such a good point, because just because you're a cannabis consumer doesn't mean you're an educated cannabis consumer. And so finding the right person is such a good piece of advice. And there's nothing like having just someone with the wisdom who's been down the same path. Like, it's so comforting for me, and like for women helping women, it's like feels like the way it's meant to be, really.
Well, and I also feel like there's this stereotype, right? The stoner stereotype that people think of immediately when they think of cannabis. And I want to be a face of like something completely different. I'm a mom, I'm an educator, all of these different things. And I consume cannabis, and it allows me to be the best version of myself. And I don't take anything else. Like, cannabis is my number one, and vitamins. That's really it. I don't take, even with hysterectomy, like no HRT, I don't take anything. So sometimes I ask myself, like, should I be taking something else because I feel fine?
I mean, how many people are taking HRT that don't feel good?
Right.
I mean, the fact that you are off everything and feel good, it's a miracle. I mean, that's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
All right. Are you ready for our 4 questions?
Yes.
Okay. Our first one: to date in your life, what are you most proud of?
In my life?
The hard
probably no. My daughter, and the person that she is and is becoming. I raised her all by myself, and she's such a warm-hearted, loving, intelligent, talented human being. I really, I'm amazed by who she is and the journey that we've been on together, and all the ups and downs, of course. But and the things she's been through, like she had to live through my illness, and
like for a 10-year-old, that's awful.
Yes, and she has some residual trauma from that, because if I bring it up at all, because I'm okay with it. Like, it's a lived chapter, it's over, it's done. It was really hard. But if I ever bring it up with her, she's like, Mom, I don't really want to talk about that right now. Because she goes back to that 10-year-old child who was really afraid. But
afraid for her mom.
Yeah. But she's almost 17. She'll be 17 on Valentine's Day.
Does she know about your cannabis?
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Can we talk about that for a minute? How does that work?
Yeah.
If for anybody listening who maybe is afraid to talk to their teenagers, how did that unfold for you?
Really simple, organically, like as I was learning, because it's just the two of us. I wanted to talk about this. As I was learning, I was telling her things. So she would have been, in 2018, she would have been 12. Wait, how old is she now? She would have been about 12. And so rather on the young side to be understanding this, but I have not been one to keep secrets from her. So I just told her, not immediately, like I wanted to know how I was going to feel with cannabis. And then as I started to really go deep into into understanding. I would tell her, because I didn't want to hide and be
no reason
going
to.
outside into the back alley to
Yeah.
have a puff. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to be able to.
No need.
So
Yeah.
she's been witness to all of it. And sometimes, there's a strain that makes you extra happy and chatty. And I get into a zone and I'll start talking to her and she's like, Mom, did you just have a puff? Like, yes, I did.
My husband says the same thing to me. I completely relate, where you just get like so excited. You're like, I just want to talk to somebody. And they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So, and we've talked about cannabis versus alcohol, and she sees in her peer group, because she goes to parties, she's almost 17, right? Yeah. So she sees both in that social recreational setting, and she's experienced both. She's decided to drink alcohol, like what 16-year-old doesn't, right? And she's gotten sick from it, and she's had a puff on cannabis, and she's had a reaction there too, but at least she knows.
And at least she has a mom who's honest and will walk her through it. And she's got the best. I mean, to have someone that you trust and love so much to guide you through your teenage years honestly and give real, advice. She's so lucky.
Mm-hmm. And also to have that clarity that it's really not the ideal until your brain is finished developing. And that's going to take a few more years. Mm-hmm. And we know that as we get older, so my age and beyond, that cannabis is really good for your brain, right? It's got neurodegenerative properties, neuroprotective properties. But when you're young, you got to let your brain grow. You have to let your brain.
Yep. And I talk to my son, it's the same way as alcohol. You're just not ready yet. It's an adult thing, period. It is what it is. And he's only 8, so he doesn't really question me yet, my authority. But I think it's easier almost that alcohol has an age limit, to put an age limit on cannabis as well for kids, and just say neither of them are for you. And obviously experimenting with mom is a different story, but I do think kids can wait in most situations. And then if they have parents who are open and honest enough to just kind of explore it as they get older, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. I'd rather she know than be like living in fear. Like, that's
absolutely. Or just
not
living
empowering when you're afraid.
Yeah, like just to have that knowledge and to know that she can come and talk to you about it, I feel like is more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But generally, she's not really interested in consuming it.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't make it something secretive or something like that they're super interested in, if they see it all the time, just is what it is to them. It's nothing special.
Yeah, and when I make infused cookies and things like that, she'll always ask, "Can I have these?" Nope.
Nope, not for you. Not for you.
I'll make a different batch for you.
Yes, exactly. You can have your own special batch, which is perfect. And she's respectful, you're respectful. It sounds like you have a beautiful relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm very proud of it.
Looking forward, or maybe I should say looking backwards, what do you think your life would look like if you didn't ever try cannabis?
Oh my gosh. So I would probably be a stress case, working all the time, not taking breaks, not allowing myself to slow down, struggling with not asking for help. That was one of the lessons I learned through my illness, is that you can't, like, when you cannot do anything,
literally,
you need to ask for help. Yeah. And there's no shame in that.
No.
So I think I would be a different person. I don't think I'd be as calm and as, at the same time, have energy, have that healthy energy.
Yes.
So many things. My sleep probably wouldn't be as good. Yeah. And I would have been seeking solutions, like how, like, or deciding that this is my baseline of normal, this level of anxiety, this level of stress, this inability to sleep. Everybody's going through it, so it must be normal, when it's not. We have to reestablish what our normal is.
Yeah.
It's not. No.
And I feel like once you find cannabis, you refine what normal is for you. It's different for everybody, but like it brings you back to yourself and reminds you, like, who you are and what's important to you. And it just kind of gives you, like you said, that ability to slow down and pause a little bit.
Yes, which is so important. We do so much so fast, and we feel compelled to always say yes. And so we just load more and more and more onto ourselves. And then we pay a price ultimately, right?
Yeah. Our health, our mental health, physical health, all of it. Yeah,
all of it. Mm-hmm.
If you could go back 10, 20, even 30 years ago and give yourself a little piece of cannabis advice, what would it be?
I'll just jump back 10 years ago because that's, and within that time frame was when everything happens. So I would say start exploring. Start exploring. You don't need a diagnosis.
Yeah.
A diagnosis of an illness to consume cannabis. And I maybe would have gone through appropriate steps to find if I needed a diagnosis in order to access the medical, I would have gone through proper steps to do that. Because I remember even someone asking me at one point, just a very basic question because of my way of being. I just point blank said, Kim, are you okay? And I was like, I think I'm okay. Like I've never really paused to ask myself, am I okay? But I think they just saw the level of stress that I was living with. Because I did so much. Like at one point, I decided before I got sick, I think I'm going to do my master's degree. So I worked on that for 5 years, part-time while parenting and teaching full-time. And I probably would have, if cannabis had been in the picture then, I just think I would have approached everything so differently and put myself and my needs much, much higher than I had. Yeah. So I would have wanted to know about it, I think. Yeah. If it had been part of my thought process. It just wasn't. But I guess, open up to it. And maybe it could have been, this is what I think. I think it could have, if I had had it earlier in my life and was reaping the benefits of a mindful relationship with it, I think I possibly could have avoided everything that I ended up going through. Mm. However, with that said, and I think you would agree with this, we're supposed to go through the fire.
100%.
We're supposed to go through the fire so that we can emerge as a new being, with a new mindset and new attitudes, and
perfectly to where you are today in the work that you're doing and the work that you're putting out there. And kind of goes into our last question, because if you could be remembered for one thing in the cannabis space, what would that be?
Ooh, it would be bringing like millions of women around the world into a mindful relationship with this plant, opening them up to it and supporting their journeys. And that's largely why I decided to write the book as well, just to have a greater reach than I can have just in my immediate community.
I mean, you're doing all that work now. Tell us a little bit more about where people can learn about you and your work, where they can work with you, and where they can get your book.
So I'm around on the different social media platforms. I also have my own website, so kimsarsonscoaching.com. I'm on Facebook.
I'll put the links for everyone so they can get to you super easy.
Yeah. And the books are currently on Amazon. They're all on Amazon. The first one I wrote, Midlife Magic. I'll show you. I have them here.
Please, yes. So, oh my gosh. I love the cover. Love it.
Yeah, I love it too. So this is available obviously in paperback, but also Kindle and audio. I recorded it. I narrated it myself last summer.
Look at you. That is such a feat. And like to hold it in your hands is to feel amazing. So proud of you.
Thank you. This is the second one. So as I was writing Midlife Magic, I was thinking this needs a companion journal. Yeah. Like the whole point of Midlife Magic is to educate women about the plant, educate them about their bodies, and hone in on ways to engage and what symptoms that we deal with predominantly at this stage of life can be addressed and how. And as I was writing all of that, there needs to be a journal so that there can be documentation and, the journey from no relationship to a really mindful relationship. So that's how this one came to be. So this is called Elevated Expansion. Yeah. So it's
beautiful. Oh, wow. I love it.
Space for recipes, space for dosing, journaling, a little bit of art as well. And that leads me to the most recent one, which is called Highly Inspired.
The coloring book. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. A women's creative self-care retreat. So I've been recently learning about art therapy.
Yeah.
And this book actually has a foreword from a doctor in Texas. She's an endocannabinoid specialist. Her name is Dr. Oga. So shout out to Dr. Oga.
Yeah.
She prescribes not only cannabis to her patients, but also coloring. Because she understands and she's studied the benefits of art therapy. And so she agreed to write the foreword for this. So this one's like,
oh my gosh, that is so fun.
There's a lot of fun stuff. Yeah.
I'm going to link to this so everybody can buy one. I know everybody is going to want to get their hands on this. So if anyone's listening, not watching, Kim's showing us her book. It's a coloring book so that you can enjoy both the benefits of art and cannabis together, which goes by perfectly. A lot of people in interviews have been talking about how cannabis really sparks their creativity. So if anybody is looking for an outlet, I really can't think of anything better. And like I said, I'll link to this book so everybody can get their hands on it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, it also has space in it for journaling because, the downloads
so
that
important. Come. Yes.
And you write in whatever piece of paper you have available. It's like, we need a place to contain all of these amazing downloads. And then I've also got space in there for dosing, keeping track of your medicine. And so you can replicate experience, so you can repeat positive experiences. Yeah. So.
Oh my gosh, Kim, I am so excited about all the work you're putting out into the world. And I'm so excited to share this with my audience. I'm really hoping women listening here right now are like, oh my gosh, I need to meet Kim. I'll put all the links everywhere that you can find Kim, work with her in coaching, or just check out her book. I'm getting on Amazon right now. I'm getting a copy of all of those. I cannot wait to share it with everybody. Any last words of wisdom, Kim, to share with our audience?
My final words of wisdom. I think I've said it a few times, be open. Be open. Even if you're in a part of the world or a state where cannabis is not fully legal, take the initial steps of learning. Yeah. Because by the time legalization arrives to your area, you'll be ready. You'll be ready to engage with it. You'll be ready to support yourself and support other people. And in the meantime, just travel somewhere to the neighboring state or wherever you can go, come up to Canada and experience it. But mindfully, know what you're getting into. Have a sense of that. Be open to it. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid. It's a plant and it's a beautiful plant. It's so generous and so loving and the best relationship that you can have with that is beautiful words of wisdom. I share the same feelings about the plant. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and sharing the transformation and all of the amazing work you're doing today. It's really been a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Emily. I really appreciate being here.
Congratulations. You've finished another episode of the Well with Cannabis podcast and are one step closer to discovering how you too can live well with cannabis. Thank you for listening in today. We hope this episode has been a helpful and informative one. Please visit emilykylenutrition.com for more information on today's show notes, guest information, recipes, and other resources. If you want more support and encouragement on your cannabis journey, please consider joining the private Well with Cannabis community. In this group, you can connect with like-minded individuals focused on improving their health and wellness through cannabis. Join the group today to continue your journey of wellness together at emilykylenutrition.com.